I had the opportunity to sit down with a meteorologist who's not only making waves on air, but also dominating the digital space. Kaite Nickolaou. You might know Kaite from her engaging and educational TikToks, where she's built a massive following of nearly 500,000 people and racked up over 9 million likes. Her ability to break down complex weather topics in a fun and relatable way earned her the prestigious Certified Digital Meteorologist seal, one of only a handful of people to receive this recognition. She even won an Upper Midwest Regional Emmy for her viral Tacos vs. Tornadoes TikTok. In this episode, we dive into the evolving role of social media in broadcast meteorology, her storm chasing days in Iowa, and how her childhood love of Twister led to a meeting with the film's star, Helen Hunt. Plus, we'll talk all things Michigan winter, including the challenges of forecasting lake effect snow, and how she's inspiring the next generation of meteorologists. It's a conversation you won't want to miss, so let's get started.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I want to start off talking about social media because obviously, even though we're broadcast meteorologists, it is becoming a very important aspect of our jobs, and you do a great job at it. What is
Aw.
it about social media that allows you to be creative while also telling the weather forecast too?
Yeah, oh, good question, because a lot of times when it comes to our job as on-air meteorologists is there's a sense of very professional guidelines that we have. And a lot of times that can be very constricting for personality. And I find that social media is not that. People don't respond to prim and proper forecasting and stuff like that. They want someone who's a person. And that's something that thankfully I'm very good at, is just being a person, I guess. And everyone can be, which is nice. It just takes a little bit of practice to kind of shake off what we've become accustomed to in the professional sense. And then you can open up the windows to being professional and fun, which is what really gets people going online. And it gets people to obtain and retain the information that you give them more readily, which makes them want to come back more. And next thing you know, you have a whole circle of science going.
Yeah, and you were talking about making it fun. I think that's very important nowadays because for our jobs at least, people can tune to their apps, they can get weather information pretty much anywhere nowadays. Do you feel like if you can not only inform them but entertain them too, that's twice as good?
Oh, yeah, because if you give people 2 choices, you can either read a full sheet of paper or you could go talk to a friend about it and get the same information. They're gonna choose to talk to a friend more often than not. And so that's what I try to do. Is I love talking with viewers and building those relationships, and they just wanna come and get the weather from me rather than, say, a blank app that, doesn't answer their questions. That's the benefit of having a real life person. AI doesn't do it well. You don't have the apps that do it well. You want to have a person who can answer the really niche things while also being a person.
Exactly. And one of the biggest successes you've had on TikTok, at least, was your video about, of all things, bird poop and the icicles that contain bird poop.
Yes. Yes.
Please don't do that. I'm a meteorologist. I should know. When icicles form, it's from water that melts off of your roof and runs down the side of a building. Well, here's the thing. You know what else is on your roof? Bird poop. A lot of it. And that water picks it up and freezes it in the ice. You're eating poop.
How did you think about doing that video, and did you expect it to take off in the way it did?
Well, it was crazy because I just downloaded TikTok a few weeks beforehand because my brother was sending me all these videos. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll just download it. And one of those videos was that lady eating the icicles. And I was at work at my station in Sioux City. I'm just like, oh no, that's not good. And so our station is notorious, or was notorious, for having massive icicles hanging off of our metal roof. So I was like, I'll just go outside and make a little quick explainer that you really shouldn't do that. And the thought process was I could tell him, like, yeah, that's bad for your teeth, but I'm not a dentist. But I am a meteorologist and I know how icicles form. So I went that track. And as soon as you mentioned poop, people really pay attention.
Oh, yeah.
So that I had posted it. And the next day I was driving home from Iowa and South Dakota area to Michigan, and my phone was blowing up. Like, I had to plug it in because it was just gonna die. I had video requests, I had interview requests, and that whole vacation for me was not vacation. It was just answering people's questions.
Yeah, and going viral is one of those things, like, I feel like the less effort you put in, surprisingly, the better it does more often
Oh
than not.
yeah. Oh, totally. There was one piece that I did on the origin of the hurricane hunters, because Colonel Duckworth, who did the hurricane hunting the first ever time flying into a hurricane, he's actually buried not far from where I live. And so once I found out that whole history, I was like, I'm going to make this into a really cool TikTok. And it was a nice long TikTok and everything. Not nearly the reaction as icicle poop. So it just goes to show, if you find something you like, post about it. You don't ever know what the reaction will be. But even with the less reaction, even if it's just 1,000 views, it's really fun to see the individual people's responses. Because having views is fun, but I like interacting with people more.
Yeah, and it's all about having fun and engaging with the viewers, making them feel like you're their friend, and you're there for them through any weather
Oh yeah.
situation, anything that's going on.
Well, and the perk is, like, I work the morning shift. I have no social life. This is my social interaction.
I know how
So I
that is.
genuinely,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Well, and it's so nice to be able to talk to viewers, like, virtually too, because a lot of times, like, I have some viewers who have physical circumstances that they can't get out and do much, or they have limiting factors in their lives that I'm the person that they see most, or one of the people that they see most. I wake up there, I'm smiling every morning, and I'm able to talk to them now, which is something we couldn't do, say, back in the 60s, because you'd have to send letters as a pen pal. And now I can just send a message and check in on some of the people, be like, hey, how's your day going? How are the stray cats you're feeding? Like, just checking in on them. And it really does, it makes the job really feel worth it.
Do you feel like you meet a different demographic audience-wise on social media versus being on TV?
Oh yeah, I have a massive following in the Philippines. Um, I don't know why, but yeah, I have a bunch of people who will message me from the Philippines, and just I'll give them a forecast, and I never would have gotten on their radar without being on social media, because the Siouxland area, the Lansing area, were small viewing areas comparatively, to the world. So social media definitely opens that door, and then you can just kind of stand in the doorway and be like, who wants a forecast? And so all of a sudden people show up.
Yeah, I think it's cool how social media has kind of shrunk the world. There are obviously bad things to it too, but overall, it's a lot of
Yeah.
good stuff too, a lot of positive information you can get out there quickly. But at the root of things, you are a broadcast local TV meteorologist in Michigan. Growing up in Michigan, was it a dream job to be a meteorologist in your own state?
Oh yeah, because Michigan's such a unique state in that we have the Great Lakes and so much lake effect snow, and such a unique tornado setup and severe weather setup because of the geography of it and the topography too. And having grown up here, I have 18 years of experience already just viewing it myself, and probably paying more attention to it than a normal child would. So a little bit of an extra bonus. And it's just nice being back with family. You don't really get prepared for it when you're in college and trying to become a broadcast meteorologist, but that first job could be anywhere in the world. And it takes you away from family. You're often going to be working the holidays. You aren't going to be able to go home because you have very little paid time off. You're going to be filling in. And it's so stressful on your emotional level, knowing that, things aren't going great at the start, which I haven't heard many stories where they have gone great, but you just have to work through it. And having a family support network really helps, which is part of the reason why I decided to come back to Michigan. Is all my family's here, and a lot of my friends from high school and everything never moved away. So it's nice to have that as a backup.
Yeah, I love where I work because I lucked out. My first job out of college, my current job, was in the state that I grew up in. So I grew
That's
up just south of
amazing.
Raleigh. Now I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina. I've been here 4.5 years, started off the weekends and then kind of a swing shift. Now the mornings like you, which is tiresome,
Nice.
but I love
Yeah.
it. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, well, and it lets you, like, in terms of broadcasting and social media, The morning shift is such a butter zone there because it's like 4:30 in the morning when I start. Most of the hard news of the day hasn't been reported on or been committed. So it's nice because then you can actually be smiley and happy and bubbly without having to worry about what news piece is coming up behind you. And that's definitely something that evening meteorologists don't have the benefit of is oftentimes weather sandwiched between horrible, horrible, horrible weather, horrible, horrible, horrible sometimes. And oh, I don't think I could mentally handle that.
Yeah, I always hate when it was like in the evenings. It would be like a hard news story and then straight to weather. It's like, how do I
Mhm.
transition from that to happy and sunshine and all this too?
Exactly. It's like, oh, we just talked about, I don't know, a puppy adoption event with the explosive carcinogens next door. Like, how do you transition from the good, bad, good? It's such a roller coaster sometimes, which is another thing with social media is you get to control your fate. You get to choose your feed. You get to decide what you report on and in what order. And it feels a little bit less stressful.
Yeah, I would agree. So now you are a meteorologist in Michigan, but you started off in Iowa, I think.
Yes, yep, Sioux City, Iowa.
Okay, so you got a lot of storm chasing experience, I'm sure, out there. What was that like
Oh, yeah.
just getting to go around and see storms and tornadoes and all that good stuff?
Totally. Well, it was really fun because it started in college for me. Valparaiso University is where I went, and every year they had a convective field study. And I was one of the lucky ones who was able to go on 4 consecutive convective field studies throughout my 4 years there. And we would chase storms from Montana to New Mexico, Arkansas to Indiana, like all of it. And I had gone through Sioux City once. And it was on the last storm chase my senior year when I got a phone call in the middle of a Cracker Barrel of all places. That was like, hey, do you want to maybe try and become this morning meteorologist in Sioux City? I'm leaving. And it was a friend from college. And she's like, I'm heading out. I know you're looking for a job. I said, yeah, I'll interview. And so we get out there. I'm like, oh, I've been here before. And so that kind of helped a little bit. I knew the severe weather setups that they get. And then from there on out, I was there for 3 years. We had 5 derecho shows in 3 years. That hit
Wow.
our viewing area. Which is as a meteorologist, just a ludicrous statistic. And it was horrible because one of them was the 2020 Iowa derecho that just flattened the state. And so you get to see these storms in their full force, which was just it's something that, as a meteorologist is fascinating to study, but then also it's flat and not a lot of trees in many spots out there. So you could actually see everything structure-wise. It was such an amazing learning experience, which in Michigan is fun. We still get I chase storms, and I get to drag my family along with me for that one. But with all the trees, it's much harder to see structure. So I'm glad I got that learning phase down when I could see everything farther out west.
Yeah, but of course, no lake effect snow in Iowa.
Oh my gosh, I will take this to my grave because I'm so bitter about it. One winter, we only had 4.4 inches of snow total in Sioux City. And I'm like, this is where Little House on the Prairie happened. I know there are blizzards out here. Where are my blizzards?
They were just avoiding you. Yeah.
They were. Oh my gosh. I told my viewers, I was like, I'm going to keep my Christmas tree up until we get at least 2 inches of snow on the ground at one time. That tree stayed up till April. And then I finally caved. I was like, oh, and tear it down. I'm still so bitter.
It
'Cause
still
I'm
comes
a
up to
snow
this day.
lover. Oh yeah. No, that was another driving force to get back to Michigan is I love lake effect snow and forecasting lake effect snow and just being outside in it. And lake effect in the world that we live in, it's one of the only guarantees for snow every year, so I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, we just had a snow event down here about 3 to 4 inches the first time in like 7 years. So it doesn't happen
That's
too often on the
crazy.
coast.
No, oh my gosh, I was watching that and I was it was that morning I woke up and I'm looking at it, I'm like, they gotta go with like a blizzard warning, don't they? And then that blizzard warning popped up along the Gulf Coast, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. And so that was fascinating to see viewers. And then it just kept sweeping up the East Coast. I'm just like, you guys are getting more snow than
Yeah.
us.
It just kept going and going. Yeah.
Oh, jealous.
See, to me, one of the coolest things about storm chasing is that you can see it in a classroom, like pictures and videos and in a textbook, but to actually see it out there and experience it is a different level.
Oh, completely. Because that's what I always tell like the students when I do school talks is history's fun. It already happened and odds are you never want to experience what we're learning in history class. English is fun because you get to read the words and you can write your own. But science, you can read about it and then you can do it yourself and you can experience it. And these are grand scale events and you can just go out and find them yourself. And it's one of the draws, I think, to STEM is that it is a active physical learning environment and we're still learning. I tell students all the time, like, you want to study fire tornadoes and fire whirls? Yeah, we're still learning more and more about them because not as much is known about them as, say, regular tornadoes. So if you want to get in on the science, do it now. There's always going to be something else to learn about. Now you have interplanetary meteorology that's becoming a thing. So it's exciting.
Oh, for sure. And I think one of the reasons that a lot of us got into meteorology was Twister back in the day, the
Yeah.
movie. Fantastic movie. I enjoyed Twisters as well. But you had the chance to meet one of the stars of the movie, Helen Hunt, a year or two ago. What was that like, seeing her and meeting her after being such a big fan of Twister for years?
Well, it was so crazy because I'm a cosplayer. I love cosplaying. So I made a Joe cosplay and I made a Dorothy backpack. Like this is it's a massive I handmade it. I never want to try to do something like that without instructions ever again, but it turned out okay. And so I got to go to the con and it was I'm pretty sure her first ever Comic-Con. I don't know how on earth they swung her to come to Detroit, Michigan, but I fell out of my chair when I saw that they had it. I got all my tickets immediately when the notification came out. And she was really just I think she was overwhelmed by the response of people who were like, "Wow, this movie was great. We really loved it. It increased my love of weather." And then I showed up and she was just like, "Oh, this is amazing." And I'm like, you. And inside my brain, I'm just like, you know that Elmo with fire behind him meme where he's
Yeah,
just like,
yeah.
it's like that was my brain. And so that's why I was like, well, it's funny enough. I was born in 1996 when Twister came out, and now I'm a broadcast meteorologist and tornado chaser myself. And she's like, oh, that's amazing. And I actually have the autograph on my wall in the other room. It just says, Katie, you are amazing. And then it's Helen Hunt. I'm just like, all right, I'm good. This is
Life complete.
amazing.
I'm good to go.
This is all I needed. Yeah, so it was really cool. And you know, she did later that night a viewing of Twister and did a Q&A beforehand. And that was really fun. I was one of the last questions and she called out my Dorothy backpack, which I'm just like, worth it, as I looked at the scars on my hand from cutting all the fabric. And I asked her, I was like, would you ever actually chase tornadoes? And she goes, absolutely not. So apparently Helen Hunt not looking to go towards tornado chasing as a career.
So she's not going to accompany you on a storm chase anytime soon?
Oh, I'm sure I could find a way to get her. Oh, good place bribe here or there can go a long way.
Absolutely. So it's amazing to me the lasting power of that movie that even kids now wanting to be meteorologists in college to be a meteorologist still love that, watch it every year. What did you think of the sequel, Twisters, compared to the original?
Well, it was fun because I pitched to my station the idea of doing a community viewing of it. So we rented out a movie theater, got 100 tickets for people and our weather team, and we all went and saw it together. And we had our team, myself and 3 other meteorologists, we were in the far back right corner because we knew we were going to be talking. We didn't want to mess with anyone. And I think there were 2 things that we thought about it. One, they're all too hot. And we're grimy in the
It's
field. We're
unrealistic,
watching
yeah.
radios on. We're like, what on earth? But the most realistic line they had in that entire movie was towards the beginning when they were in the gas station. They were like, everyone and their mom with a $10 weather app is out today.
Yep, that's
And
how
I'm
it
like,
goes.
oh, someone in the script writing room did their research. We started cackling. I distinctly remember we were just laughing, and all of our viewers turned to look at us like, what's the inside joke here? We're just like, watch the movie.
Yeah, they were like, I don't get it. What's she talking about?
Yeah. But I think it was a fun romp, and it's always fun to bring in weather movies, especially, I think what Twister did was not focus on the grandiose, if that makes sense. Like, they didn't have exploding fire tornadoes near oil refineries that defied the rules of updraft and downdraft. Anyway, I think Twister definitely was a little bit more scientific. Twisters was more of a large scale movie romp, but they're fun. And as long as it gets people talking about tornadoes, who cares?
Yeah.
It's going to get people talking about the weather and looking more into the science, and you never know who that's going to inspire. So, plus, I mean, the music was really good from that too.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And if it inspires even one more person to go into meteorology, obviously it's worth it.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's like if on the hierarchy of weather related movies, I mean, you have what is it? NYC Tornado Terror, Ice Nado, all the Sharknadoes.
Sharknado,
Yeah,
yeah.
Day After Tomorrow. Ugh. Like Twister and Twisters are still well above the
Oh,
rest.
yeah, I agree. One of the coolest things about that to me was the fact that they had an actual meteorology student write the notes that she used in one of the scenes.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was so cool. Because it's one of those things where when you get when it's on home release and you can watch it and you can pause it. I'm going through, I'm like, yep, yeah, 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 yep. Oh, I remember
Yeah,
that. So yeah, no, no, no.
nightmares.
So many. Oh, dynamics and thermodynamics. What a time.
Yeah, memories, but not necessarily the best ones.
Yeah. Well, you get QG Omega and you're just like, it is what it is.
Yeah. So
Thankfully, I
speak,
don't have to explain that to viewers.
yeah, we don't have to dive into that too much, thankfully.
Yeah. Oh, the day we do is the day that we lose them.
Yep, they're like, okay, I'm done. This is too
Yep.
much for me. I'm out of here.
Bye. Yeah. It's like, I haven't had my cereal yet. Goodbye.
So speaking of nodes and long equations, I know that you recently became the 7th person ever to get the digital broadcast meteorology seal.
You've done your
What was the
research.
studying process like for that? And what did it mean to you to be the 7th person to get it?
Yeah. Well, the phenomenal thing that the AMS does with their seals is for me, I had become a certified broadcast meteorologist beforehand. I think I'm 918. And so having already passed the test, it made it a lot easier to apply for the CDM because then it's reliant upon your digital presence. And there's so much anxiety when you're like, what am I going to submit? What looks good? And I think it's just a matter of like trusting your gut and knowing your science because odds are if you're doing meteorology right now and you've already got the degree, you're good. Trust your instincts. There are some amazing study groups out there who study for the CBM, CDM, NWA seals, all of them. And we're talking spreadsheets. I go through all of them just to refresh my meteorological know-how and whatnot. And that certainly helps. But I think definitely just knowing your content, making the best content you possibly can, and just hopefully continuing to push forward in the digital sphere wherever that path takes and however long it takes you, you're going to get to a point where you can obtain that seal. And a lot of people are already there, which is why I hope more people apply for it. Being one of the first ones, that is really cool and very validating knowing that what I'm doing on digital, which some have been naysayers, but knowing that like, hey, I'm certified. I know what I'm doing. That is a real calming presence in my mind when I go to make content.
Yeah, I think it's a sign of things to come too, as far as transitioning from still TV, but not quite as much focus on that, and more so
Mhm.
towards broadening things to a digital landscape too.
Oh yeah, totally. And it's just like with the certified broadcast meteorologist seal, it does help add a little layer of emphasis to your resume when you apply for jobs. Whether or not the general public it really has much sway with them, it does have a professional presence that I feel has helped me before. So it's nice to know that those seals are there. You just gotta apply for them.
Yeah, I got my NWA seal about a year ago, and it's cool to
Nice.
see it on the TV, but I feel like 90% of people don't notice it. The 10% that do don't really know what it means, but it's
Right.
obviously still nice to know that you passed an exam, you're certified, you're good to
Mhm.
go.
Exactly. And it's as much for you as it is for anything else because it's like, yeah, no, even if my program or my experience in college, whatever your grades were, this is kind of just like pulling yourself over one cliff and you're looking around and everyone's on the same level now. It's like, okay, I match you, which is it's nice to have. Still
Yeah.
have to go for the NWA one. The test scares me a little bit more on that one.
Yeah, it was hard. I studied for months and months, and it was still some of the questions were difficult to say the least, but passed it the first time, passed the video portion.
Nice.
Now I just have to renew it in the next 2 years.
Yeah, oh, that's always fun.
That's the fun part. Yeah.
You know, and the expensive part.
Yeah, exactly. Each time you gotta break that credit card out and make it happen.
Mm-hmm. You're just like, it's for the greater good.
Yep. Yep.
Oh no.
So I want to wrap things up talking about the future for you. Obviously, you're a meteorologist in your home state, as we discussed. Is that the long-term plan for you moving forward, or what do you hope to accomplish in the years to come?
Yeah, I think my long-term goal, I always would love to become a chief so that you have that financial stability and can live. So that's one of the goals. And also just to be able to continue to help people understand the weather. The world's crazy enough as it is, and it's hard enough to understand basic things, let alone advanced meteorology. And I have that ability to communicate it. And apparently people like it. So if that's a sign to me to keep going. And if I can help make the world a little bit better of a place, then I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, I think it's rewarding too to see that all your hard work pays off. People appreciate it, they care, they actually want to learn the science behind it too.
Oh yeah. I get people who will send me messages or even kids after school talks. I tell them cuz I save about half an hour of my hour-long talks just to answer questions cuz the kids their questions are more in depth than what I could even do on a basic meteorology presentation. And I'll get emails or letters written from them months after the presentations, still asking me questions. And I think that's just incredible to be able to get those gears turning. Like, I've been doing a school talk for my local school here going back almost 5 years now, every year for 5 years. And now that I go back to the middle school, these kids from 5 years ago still know me. Immediately, I'll walk down the hall and I'll get a mosh pit of children. And I'm just like, "Hey, guys, you got really tall." And that's just it's such a fun feeling knowing that I made an impact and that they're gonna, throughout life, look at the weather in a different way.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Make sure you make that impact and really influence them growing up.
Oh, totally. And yeah, it's fun because, they probably won't go and become meteorologists, but the ones that do, that's amazing. And even the ones who don't, they're at least more weather aware now.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
weather's around all the time. So every day for their entire life, they'll have the weather.
Now think about that one time you came and visited and the impact you had.
Oh yeah. Yep. And hopefully there's a couple of them. I make 3D printed hailstones. And I make miniature versions of the Vivian, South Dakota hailstone, the largest one ever recorded in the United States. And anytime I run into a student named Vivian, I'm like, okay, here's a little thing for you. And there was one little girl whose name was Vivian, and she's probably gonna become a meteorologist. She was so jazzed. And I was like, this is amazing.
Inspiring the next generation.
Oh, it's all about it.
All right. Thank you, Katie, so much. I appreciate the time. I'm going to
Thanks
let you
for having
go
me.
take a nap now.
Oh
Enjoy
yeah.
the rest of your day.
I'm gonna grab my cats and I'm gonna just take a nap in the sunshine because that's my nocturnal lifestyle.
All right. Well, enjoy that and have a good one.
You too.
Thank you so much for watching, and a big thanks to meteorologist Kaite Nickolaou for taking the time to speak to me. Don't forget before you leave to comment, like, and subscribe for more future content just like this.